Can the Blue Jackets continue their quest to hit 500 by New Year's Eve? If they beat the Leafs tonight, then it's more likely than not. We're going to talk about that on today's Locked On Blue Jackets.
You're Locked On Blue Jackets, your daily podcast on the Columbus Blue Jackets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Blue Jacket, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Jay Foster. With me is my co-host, Hayden Heilson. And before we get started, I want to thank everyone for making this your first listen of the day. If you want to be an everydayer, then you can find us on any podcast app of choice. You can find us on YouTube, and you can find us on SiriusXM. I also want to let you know that today's episode is brought to you by Sleeper. Download the Sleeper app. Use promo code LOCKEDONNHL to get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Blue Jackets lost a heartbreaker against Washington. Their final game before Christmas is the Leafs, who, I personally have not recovered from the trauma of the last Leafs game where they almost blew a 5-0 lead. Shout out to Kent Johnson for deciding that actually they should win that game. But if they play like they did against Washington, against the Leafs, I have a pretty good feeling about how this game is going to go. Do you agree?
100%. As you said, the last time the Blue Jackets played the Leafs, you do not really trust their goaltending. And last time the Leafs played, they gave up 9 goals to the Sabres. So their goaltending is still very much an issue, and I think that bodes very well for the Blue Jackets because the Blue Jackets are going to get their shots. They're going to get their chances. And while at times this year the Blue Jackets have gotten in their own way of scoring goals, it's nice knowing that they'll be going against a goaltender that really has kind of struggled this year. And I'm trying to pull up Samsonov's numbers this year. He's not doing great. He's played 14 games and has given up 3.51 a game. Their other goalie, Joseph Wall, he's done a lot better for him. He's played 15 games this year, and he's given up 2.8 a game. So it'll depend on who they see. I know Samsonov started for the Leafs on Thursday night against the Sabres.
So Wall is injured at the minute as well, so it probably will be one of Samsonov or Martin Jones.
Yes, and Jones this year, 2.5 goals against average, but he's only played in 5 games this year, so he's due for probably a game where he gets lit up. And I think the Blue Jackets can do it. I don't think listen, the Leafs have been a team over the last few years built by Kyle Dubas, who now is the GM with the Penguins, of course, but this team that Kyle Dubas built is very heavy up front with Austin Matthews, who had one of his had a goal of the year kind of candidate against the Sabres the other night. But William Nylander, who has a 10 game point streak going right now. Like those, if you can shut those 2 players down, which is obviously what every NHL coach is trying to figure out how to do right now. But you shut them down, you're going to get your chances to score. And I think they can win this game, Jay. I feel like that there should be a level of comfortability playing at home too. But that being said, the Blue Jackets they've lost 3 straight home games, so I don't really know. But on paper, this is a winnable game. The Jackets did just beat them last week too, 6-5. So yes, get a point. Get 2 points tonight against the Leafs.
Yeah, it really depends on. I think this is one of those games that doesn't really depend so much on the Blue Jackets. It depends on which Maple Leafs team turns up. If they turn up and they are mad as hell about allowing 9 goals to the Buffalo Sabres, then it could get a little interesting. If you get the team that is like in their feelings and sulking about allowing 9 goals, then the Blue Jackets might be able to exploit that. But the Blue Jackets have kind of been on the receiving end of some revenge games before. I can't think who it was off the top of their head, but they played a team that just got absolutely spanked the night before, and then promptly came into Columbus mad as hell, and I think put 6 goals up on them. So it really could go either way. I would expect to see Samsonov start, but I don't know that for sure because Martin Jones has been the better of the 2 goalies since he got called up from the Marlies. We'll see. I think I agree. I think they are very heavy up front. I think part of the problem that the Leafs have this year is I think a lot of their additions to, it's a similar thing with the Penguins. The Penguins' depth right now is not good. They've got these star players, but the players they've surrounded them with aren't doing much. I haven't watched a ton of Leafs hockey this season, but I feel like all of these free agent signings that they made have not really delivered as such. I'm just pulling up now what the numbers are like. So Tyler Bertuzzi, who was their big free agent signing, 13 points in 30 games. Max Domi has 3 goals on the season, I think 18 points. Ryan Reeves is a non-factor. John Klingberg is out for the season. Like, there's a lot of guys that they've brought in that have not been getting it done. Guys that were supposed to augment, the core 4, as they call them, of Matthews, Marner, Nylander, Tavares. I think Tavares is starting to lose a step. Where's he at for points? He's got I say he's losing a step. He's still got 29 points in 30 games. So, like, he's clearly not lost that much of a step. But I agree. Nylander, Matthews, to a lesser extent, Marner, those are the guys that you've got to watch out for. If you can shut those guys down, I think that the other lines are very, very exploitable for Columbus.
Yeah, I have to agree. And it is funny talking about this team and like, oh yeah, this is a very winnable game for the Jackets. But like, yeah, you look at their point totals for all their players. And first of all, they're having a good year. They're second in the Atlantic Division right now, 16, 8, and 6 on the year. And they have 4 players that are at a point a game, essentially. I mean, 3 that are above a point a game, 4 if you include Tavares at being just 1 point under. And the Blue Jackets don't have a player at a point a game. So these 2 teams are scoring at very different clips. But they're giving up goals at a different rate. And I think that's because I don't think the Leafs feel like they have a strong D-core. Obviously, they have Morgan Riley, who has been phenomenal for them for a while now. Been great he's fantastic on the power play. But outside of that, I mean, yeah, John Klingberg, he's hurt.
So I like TJ Brody a lot. He's very defensively minded, though, so they're not going to get a ton from him. I think he's only got 5 or 6 points on the season. But yeah, it feels like the star players and the depth players, it feels like there's a bigger divide in between the caliber of those 2 types of player than there is on Columbus. I feel like Columbus is more kind of, I think there's less of a gap between the star players and the depth players, which might be a problem and might not be a problem. I feel like Columbus is doing a lot of scoring by committee, whereas the Leafs are kind of leaning a lot on the big guys. And I don't know that there's one way that's more valid than the other, but that's what's happening right now. Let's take a quick break, and then when we get back, I want to talk just a little bit more about William Nylander, because I have a fun thought experiment for us to do. So we'll do that in just a second here on Locked On Blue Jackets. First, I want to tell you guys about Sleeper, because a new NHL season brings all sorts of possibilities. Igor Chinakov could score 50 goals, the Blue Jackets could win the draft lottery, and you could win big by playing daily fantasy hockey on Sleeper, the official daily fantasy app of the Locked On NHL Network. Sleeper is our number 1 choice for daily fantasy sports, and especially daily fantasy hockey, because with Sleeper, you can win 100 times your cash in daily fantasy contests. Entry to be made in under a minute. The app is really, really easy to use. There's a fun group chat functionality, so you can connect with other fans, and they've got a bunch of different sports. Obviously, hockey is the best one, but They've got football, basketball, baseball, college football, and a bunch of other things. All you have to do to win 100 times your money is correctly predict the outcome of 8 player stats. So, will Ovechkin record more or less than his sleeper projection for goals? Will Crosby record more or less than his projection for assists? Will Elvis Merzlikins record more or less than his projection for saves? Things like that. If you do that 8 times, you're going to win 100 times your initial bet playing daily fantasy hockey with Sleeper. So start paying attention and nail your picks so you can start winning big. Use promo code LOCKEDONNHL and you'll get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. That's code LOCKEDONNHL, LOCKEDON NHL. See Sleeper's terms of use for details and locational availability. Welcome back to Locked On Blue Jackets. We are talking all about the Leafs. And I don't want to spend a ton of time on this, but I have decided that my new thing to rile up Leafs fans, I think, is going to be talking about how, like, what would you do to sign William Nylander? Like, what would you give up? As a Blue Jackets fan, who on the roster would you do, what would you give up, like Johnny Gaudreau and a first round pick?
Yes.
If you had William Nylander in return.
Yes, I would do that. I mean, Johnny's good. He's a good player. I think he's a little one-dimensional lately, and maybe even in the remaining part of his career might continue to be one-dimensional. But William Nylander can do it all. He can pass, he can shoot, he's explosive. And the thing is with him too, why I wouldn't make that trade is because Columbus still is battling the fact that they are not a super attractive city for free agents. So when you sign a big free agent, you don't want to just necessarily kick him out. So even though I would trade that in if I was playing EA Sports NHL Dynasty mode, I'm making that trade 1-for-1, 2-for-1 with a first rounder like any day. And that is a fun experiment to do. If you want to just tease Leafs fans, you can just tell them, like, how'd you give up 9 goals to the Buffalo Sabres? Because first of all, that's a little scary. And you pointed that out because the Jackets put 9 goals on Buffalo. Buffalo just put 9 goals on Toronto. Is Toronto about to put 9 goals on the Blue Jackets? Because if so, why did the Blue Jackets
that happened a couple of seasons? So do you remember the 10-0 game against Montreal?
Of course. That's like asking if I remember my wedding.
Blue Jackets history. A few weeks up, like I think a month after that game, Montreal won a game 10-0 against a different team. And I spent the rest of the season terrified that they were going to come back and score 10 goals on the Blue Jackets. So, like, it is cyclical. Hockey is like that. God, I hope we don't let the Leafs score 9 goals. But I want to, because otherwise we'll spend the entire episode talking about what we would give up for William Nylander, and then Leafs fans will get very, very mad, like they did when we suggested what we would give up for Austin Matthews in the summer. William Nylander is going to make so much money this offseason, by the way. It's going to be
absolutely.
It's going to be wild. Damon Severson might be making his return. We're recording this on Thursday night, just after the Blue Jackets game, so we don't have any concrete information one way or the other. Probably what will happen is he'll be confirmed as soon as we finish recording this, whether he's in or out or whatever. But what does his return mean for the Blue Jackets? Who leaves the lineup? What happens to the lineup? Do you think Severson returning? Like, what kind of impact do you think Severson's return will have on this decor?
Tremendous impact. I don't think Damon Severson is going to help out defensively a ton, or at least he's going to help out defensively, but I think he's going to help out more providing some of these forwards opportunities to play a little loose, because as I've said, I've always loved the way that Damon Severson keeps his head up when he has the puck from behind his own net. He looks for that long stretch pass, which I just think gives some of their better forwards tremendous opportunities. And remember, the last time we had Severson on this team, that was like six or 8 weeks ago. And the Blue Jackets were in the middle of a 9-game losing streak. The Russian line wasn't really popping off. Johnny didn't have the same wind underneath his legs. Adam Fantilli wasn't the same player 6 to 8 weeks ago. So I think he's going to add tons of stuff offensively for sure. But you're absolutely right about, as you mentioned in the last episode, something needs to be done about the Peak and Provorov D-pairing. So honestly, I really wouldn't mind a Provorov healthy scratch just to give that guy a break. I mean, he could definitely use it. I don't think he's missed a single game in the last like 3 seasons. So give that guy a little rest, because he is starting to look a little slower too as games have gone on. But definitely one of those two. Probably is going to be Andrew Peak, which is fine. Obviously, you have a ton invested in Provorov, so keep him on the ice. But yeah, I think that's going to be a good fit in for the Blue Jackets. And yeah, we don't know for sure. Obviously, we're recording this on Thursday night, but it was reported Thursday, or no, it was reported Wednesday by Jeff Svoboda, the Jackets writer, that it is expected he will be playing in the next 2 matches. Obviously, 1 match has gone by since then. I don't know why we're calling it matches here on CBS Sports, but there just must be big soccer fans on CBS Sports. But yeah, sometime either he didn't play in this past game, so I expect him to play, yes, tonight against the Maple Leafs. So should be a huge addition, to answer your question. Huge.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know that it's the solution to every single problem, but, and I kind of alluded to this, I think in either earlier in this episode or in yesterday's episode, it stabilizes the decor a little bit. And I think it'll be interesting to see what it looks like when he returns in terms of who's paired with who and like who's in the lineup. I agree. I think Peak is probably the one to leave. I would like to see Blankenberg get another shot. I don't think he will. He's got to stay with the club until I think the 28th, because the roster freeze is in effect right now. So no one can be sent up or down unless it's like an emergency recall. I don't remember what the exact dates are for that, but yeah, I think Severson coming back probably will help the team more than it hurts them. And frankly, I'll take that.
I will also say, Jay, one of them is Severson, but there are 3 defensemen who have a positive plus-minus this year, which is very interesting. I didn't know if you wanted to take any guesses as to who one of those defensemen may be. I wouldn't have guessed these, but
I'm going to say Zach Werenski's one of them.
He's close. He has got a plus-minus of 0, so technically not positive, but he's not negative. So yeah, I'll give you that. But Adam Boquist is +3. That leads defenseman. David Juracek is +1, and Severson is +1. So those guys are not getting beat more often than they are beating other teams on the ice. So yeah, good to have him back, and yeah, hopefully he should provide some stabilization to the decor for sure.
Let's take another quick break. When we get back, we will get back to our game predictions that we haven't done for a little while. I don't think we've done them since the previous Leafs game, actually, where my horrible, terrible, no good, very bad prediction actually came true. So we'll take a quick break. When we get back, we'll talk predictions here on Locked On Blue Jackets. First, though, I've got to tell you about eBay Motors, because passion, drive, and patience are what bring home the winning trophy. It's also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle, level it up to peak performance, from superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every single time, or you get your money back, because with eBay Motors, you are burning rubber, not cash. all the parts you need at the prices you want. It's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home a win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay guaranteed fit only available to US customers. Okay, let's finish this out. Let's talk about predictions. Are you taking, let's do a slightly broader one at first. Are you taking the over or the under on this game? Because I think I am smashing the over immediately.
First of all, very small of you to bring up over-unders after I just admitted last episode I had a heartbreaking loss. But I'm going to keep playing this game, and I'm going to take the over tonight again. I think the Jackets, like, their offense is really fun to watch. I think we've said that all year long. Like, this team is a rock star team because they just play these really fun, exciting, close games. And it gets frustrating as someone, as you know, you, the everydayer, knows, as we know here on Locked On Blue Jackets, like the little areas where they just don't cash in is frustrating. But that being said, they are still putting themselves in positions to get these goals and to get shots on goal. And I think if you look at this last game that they played against the Leafs, everything was going right for them. And sometimes it's just what it takes. But really what it takes is just put the puck on net. This Blue Jackets team, has scored 2 goals off of goalies' backs in the last 4 games. Like, that's unprecedented luck for the Blue Jackets, but they're creating their own luck by just putting the puck on net. So you're absolutely right. As long as that trend keeps going that way for Columbus, they're going to score goals. The Leafs are obviously a dangerous – they're nuts. They're nuts. Okay, like, they're gonna get theirs. They're gonna get theirs tonight. They're gonna get 3 or 4, maybe 5 or 6. Hopefully the latter. But I have a 5-4. I predicted a loss the last time, so I'm gonna do the same. I have a 5-4 overtime loss for the Blue Jackets at home tonight. And I think it'll be another fun, entertaining, passionate game. It's just I don't see this one going the Jackets' way, especially considering what happened to the Leafs in their last outing and what happened to the Leafs in their last outing against the Blue Jackets.
Yeah, they've got some God, what's the word? I don't mean ground to cover, but they've got some, like,
They got a bad taste in their mouth. Yeah, bad taste.
Yeah, kind of. They've got some embarrassment to, like, overcome, which is not the word I want, but is it will do. It might be a murder game, which I always hate a murder game, but I'm gonna be positive, and I'm gonna predict a 4-3 overtime win for the Blue Jackets, despite the fact that I hate overtime and it's just, again, undue stress on me personally. But I think it goes to overtime. I think the Blue Jackets take it. We'll see. Who is gonna score the first goal for the Blue Jackets?
I'm going to pick a guy who scored twice the last time they played them, and I'm going to say Ken Johnson. I think this guy's playing with a ton of confidence right now, and he's just so fun to root for. He didn't have the best of games, I thought, against the Capitals, so he's definitely probably a player individually who has a little bit of a bad taste in his mouth. But I also think he shows up in these big games, man. Like he does, and it's also probably because he just doesn't care. Like, we've said that about him for a while. Like, he doesn't really care, so he doesn't really get rattled in these big games. But when the Leafs are in town, you know there's going to be tons of Leafs fans in the building, and it's right around the holiday, Festivus. So it's going to be a Ken Johnson game. That's who I got. That's who I'm taking. What about you?
It's a solid prediction. I was thinking about Ken Johnson. I'm going to go with someone who is on a real heater at the minute. Yegor Chidakov, I believe, is on a 6-game point streak now. He had a 4-game goal streak going that was broken against whoever they played most recently, the Sabres. Everyone scored in that game except for him, but kept the point streak alive. I believe he's now on a 6-game point streak. I think he's good for another goal. I think his confidence is sky high right now. And again, I think that Russian line is just having a ton of fun. So I'm going to go Chinakov for my goal scorer pick. I can't decide if this game is going to be fun chaotic or bad chaotic. I'm pretty sure it's going to be some kind of chaos, and I haven't figured out how yet. But we will discuss that next week. Probably tomorrow we've got a bonus episode. So because I'm traveling for the holidays and Hayden has also been traveling for the holidays, tomorrow I've got some bonus content that I recorded with Hadi Kalikesh of Locked On NHL Prospect. And we took a look at the Blue Jackets prospects that have been named to World Juniors rosters. So we're looking at Gavin Brindley, Denton Matejchuk, Jordan Dumais, Oiva Keskinen. And we also check in on the potential first overall pick in the 2024 draft, Macklin Celebrini. So that's going to be tomorrow's episode. Hopefully the Blue Jackets win tonight. If not, hopefully it's an entertaining game, but not too entertaining. Just don't let them overcome a 5-goal deficit. Please. I've been Jay Foster. You can find me on Twitter at _Jacob Foster, JAKOBFORSTER. You can find Hayden over at HaydenH971. You can find the show at LO_Blue Jacket. If you have comments, questions, criticisms, you can email us at lockedonbluejackets@gmail.com. Thank you for making us your first listen of the day every day. If you want to be an everydayer, you can find us wherever you get your podcasts. We're over on YouTube, and you can find us on SiriusXM as well. Until tomorrow, make sure you stay locked on.